I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Jujutsu Kaisen, Season 2, Episode 20. I am full of cope. I am full of hope. But above all else, I'm full of enjoyment. I love this show. I'm happy to be back. I missed it while we were gone. And this is it, I believe. I think after this, we're caught up to the live airing shows. And I'm just going to keep acting like last episode didn't happen until I'm told that it didn't.
So yeah, I'm operating right now. Maybe it's coping, maybe it's not. Maybe there was enough evidence for me to say
One evidence.
the one evidence was enough. The visual evidence was enough that Nobara could still possibly be alive, and I'm gonna hold on to that.
I would say two evidence. I'd say that one evidence is not, it's just like a, that's one evidence. And then what was going to be my second evidence was the intro of like this.
Yeah.
But that could mean death too. So that, and just cause of, and just I can't remember if I talked about it in the discussion of last video, but I really appreciated that Sayori, moment of touching face as well as, Kugisaki doing it. Okay. All right. Let's see what Itadori has to say. If they take us to a B story right now, I am going to be livid.
We have to go right to Itadori.
You ready?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, that was Jujutsu Kaisen, Season 2, Episode 20. Words alone do not exist to be able to correctly communicate how much appreciation and how much love I have for this series, for this manga, and for the animators who have brought this to life. This is my favorite thing. This is awesome. This is amazing. What a great episode. What a perfect episode.
So, I would also like to put out some compliments. I think that this whole fight arc thing that's happening here with sealing Gojo has been one of the most entertaining kind of sequences of a battle, an arc of a show or a series. It's been one of the most entertaining. It's probably been one of my favorites that I've seen across any show that I've seen. For how devastating it is, for how amazing the visuals have been, for things that have been happening to the characters. Yeah, probably just the roller coaster of emotions that has been encapsulated in this time period, this event that is happening, and how many episodes it has been able to so successfully span without feeling like sometimes if one kind of day spans a lot of episodes, it doesn't feel good. Sometimes it kind of feels like it was dragged on too long. I would say I have none of those feelings represented here. I am in love with this event that has happened in Jujutsu Kaisen in terms of a battle, a narrative point, emotionally what it's done to me as a viewer.
When I finished Season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen, we hadn't watched anything for AutoSave yet, right? I had finished Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1 before we even uploaded any videos on or created the channel. For a while, I have made a bunch of video content previously, mostly for myself, unlisted stuff. And because of that, I had, just for fun, had a Google Doc open and started trying to write what my thoughts were on Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1, because it was so significant and took such a presence in my life at the moment that it was like, by far, I was like, this is my favorite anime that I've ever seen in my life. I want to write out my thoughts about it. Maybe one day I'll do like something that every other person on the face of the planet does, which is like a video essay, right? Upon doing that, underneath my massive amount of dedication and love for the humor, the action, the writing, the animation, I had said that by episode 2, I had noticed a potential weakness that is being taken care of when it comes to an author's writing style. And that is, you insert a character who cannot be beaten. By episode 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen, I believe it was episode 2, given the line of dialogue from Satoru Gojo saying that, well, if Sukuna had been fully resurrected, who would win? I would win. Right? Now, with that in mind, and thinking, oh wow, is there a potential weakness in writing of tense moments, which is the premise of you introducing an overpowered character? That was in my mind freshly when the gun was put onto the shelf that is sealing Satoru Gojo in season 1. That's when we heard about it multiple times. So then, in my mind, I'm like, okay, all right, you set yourself up, you've already incorporated it into the narrative, it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen at a certain point. What then? All we've seen up until that happens is a style of writing that for the most part leaves us in the back of our head that everything's going to be okay. Gojo's there. Mm-hmm. This, I don't think words will be enough to tell you how I had very high expectations for Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. And upon hearing, like, Animation Troubles 2, setting that aside, the writing, this has by far exceeded anything I ever could have imagined would come out of Jujutsu Kaisen. And this is coming from a place of me saying, favorite anime, after I finished already season beloved. 1, it's already at that peak, highest potential. I had massive expectations for it. It's exceeded every single one of them. With no hesitation in saying that. I hope that what I'm about to say comes across as definitive as how highly I appreciate even this episode. I had one feeling during this episode of relating to another episode or show of some kind. You know how, like, sometimes things happen in an episode and you're like, oh, that's like this. That reminds me of this. That elicits an emotion that I had when I was watching this. Itadori on the ground, Todo speaking. The only thing I could even come close to finding a similar feeling in my body hearing Todo speak was Erwin. And Erwin's speech that he gave in season 3 of Attack on Titan. And that is I'm saying that to try to convey how strong this resonated with me. What a masterpiece.
And I'm sure you were just on a lighter note happy that Todo showed up in this episode.
I didn't think it was going to happen.
You were definitely putting it out there as like a hope.
I'd say 4 episodes ago.
Yeah, no, yeah. Definitely, like, around 4 episodes ago is when you were like, oh, I wonder if Todo's going to show up. You know, this would be a really great time for Todo to show up.
But at this point, I was like, it's too late.
And obviously, we didn't know what we know now, which is that Mekamaru put into place the fact that the other students from Kyoto aren't here. But he made sure Todo was, and another character the first year that he thought would survive as long as he was with Todo, and that his healing techniques would be helpful.
What a masterpiece. I'm dumbfounded. I'll start talking about the episode in a second. I apologize. I'm just like, I assumed that unfortunately, the rest of the season was going to be doomed after I heard the news in episode 18 that there were animation issues, because I had said then, and I meant it, that an episode of anime or an episode of television isn't just for when it airs. It's for generations to come. Mm-hmm. And the idea that they wouldn't give animators enough time to do what they needed to do to feel confident about their work is heartbreaking, especially for a source material that is phenomenal as Jujutsu Kaisen is. I can't believe they managed to do it. I am at a loss for words. I can't believe it.
New episode that we watch of it, with having that information, the worry grows with each episode. Like, we can keep saying, like, it's impressive or I would not have known, but there's still that fear there that with that next episode, it could really be hurting someone else out there to have created that, like, even more. And, you know, or the work would definitely suffer in a way that was easily viewable by the audience, and how disrespectful that would be to so many different people involved, and how upsetting that would be on so many levels. And so with each new episode that we watch from that point of learning that information, I increasingly get more and more kind of uncomfortable with the feeling of watching it almost.
I think I've passed that now. I think that the option is still there, but I'm going to assume 24 episodes this season, if not 25, maybe. We're on episode 20.
Yeah.
I assumed upon hearing it at episode, I think it was 17 or 18, that this would be when we'd start really feeling it. Mm-hmm. And I feel nothing but appreciation. Oh, okay. Also, about to get into it, before we started the channel, when I was still, like, listening to people's reviews and opinions on things on YouTube and stuff, an overwhelming consensus of people who loved Jujutsu Kaisen, with that, had the caveat of, great show, great humor, like, the story isn't, like, that crazy or that deep or anything, but it's such a good show. This story's amazing. The narrative in this fight is phenomenal.
That is happening. This event, and the fact that it's been led up to from conception, from moment of conception of the series, from Itadori eating the finger, from him meeting Megami and Nobara, from Gojo being introduced, from Geto interacting with Gojo, and then talking about sealing and working with Jogo, like Mahito's coming into the story. Everything has been, it's almost like in some shows, you watch something and then you get told at the end it was a prologue.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, that's what it feels like. It feels like season 1 was a prologue to this event that's happening right now. This arc.
Phenomenal. And there's so many episodes. Like, I know one of your favorites, just off the top of my head, is the Choso fight, Red Scale. Like, so many episodes are filled with a ridiculous amount of attention to detail and care to bring the source material to life and excel it. I would love to read the manga for Jujutsu Kaisen.
I could never say enough how that episode, Red Scale, like, you know, it's funny because I come here to this table as someone who has a degree in traditional art forms, and I come here to this table having witnessed so many great masterpieces, and I'm like, top 5 pieces of art for episode Red Scale, the Choso fight.
Yeah, rightly so. Okay, let's start talking about the episode a little bit, yeah?
Yeah, I can tell that you want to, because you just pulled up a really lovely image on the screen, close-up of Nobara's face in this current moment. Yeah.
After being given the awesome flashback of Gojo's shirt, that little bit, that was great. It went to add on.
There was the fading out of the laughing.
Yeah.
Which, unsettling and amazing. Thank you for that.
Again, immediately I assumed this was just confirmation just for how pale Nobara's face was, but after seeing Itadori and knowing what could be getting his name wrong, Nita, I believe.
I think it is Nita.
His ability of, from what I understand, he doesn't heal things.
No.
He stops an injury from worsening. Or continue to worsen.
Like continuing to bleed or continuing to, would that then
current wounds won't worsen?
Grow infected? I don't know. I don't know to the extent.
That's an interesting point. I almost feel like that it wouldn't be able to be infected. I would imagine that wound would be protected or have a temporary stasis through Jujutsu.
As the body begins to naturally heal itself.
Or I don't think it could heal either.
No, as the body naturally begins to heal itself, which is a long process. I'm not saying his ability does any of the help with that.
But I don't think that the wound itself could be healed with the ability active.
Interesting.
Like,
so it's like when you say stasis, you mean like it keeps you in this state until he can get you to like Shoko.
Correct.
Okay.
And with Shoko, that's
like a hospital.
That's a great thing to bring up though, because we were already given the idea that Shoko's around.
And we dropped off Megami in front of Shoko.
But that's how I interpret it, and I 1,000% can be wrong because we were just given a couple lines about it. But like just being fun and speculative, that's how I interpret it.
Yeah.
The idea of Nobara living, not a very good chance, but you said it yourself that Nita is a sweetheart for saying what he did to Itadori about Nobara. It was
so sweet and innocent and, like, pure that he doesn't even know this guy. He's like, well, this is Toto's brother, so he's probably a great guy, even though they have no resemblance. So it seems like he's really torn up about that girl over there. Like, I'm gonna tell him, like, there's a chance. You know, he's so broken up right now. And it's so sweet, because I think that Toto showing, I think these things go hand in hand to get Itadori to stand up and fight again. I think Toto showing up here, yes, it does a great job of motivating Itadori and being, like, what he could use or need in this moment. But I think what Nita does is the other half of what he needed. It's the other percentage of what he needed.
Yeah.
Because what it does is it fuels even more, like, it goes along with Toto's lines about, like, our lives are no longer bound by that karma. We're entrusted, what they've entrusted you with, you can't drop it. Like, he's so pure and soft himself, Itadori, that, like, those words, the heavy burden that's on him, I think that hearing that there could be a chance, I think having a hopeful feeling fill up his sorrow that's happening right now, that little glimmer that things could be okay. Even if she doesn't survive, you can still save people. It's like a reminder that not all hope is lost here. There's still a chance for everything.
Yep.
There's a chance you could win here. There's a chance you can save people. There's a chance Nobara could still live.
Yeah.
There's a chance.
A little bit of hope.
And if there's a chance, you should go for it.
Definitely. The animation in this episode was incredible, specifically in one category. My favorite example of expressive animation that we've witnessed on the channels from Mob Psycho.
Mm-hmm.
This is another piece of it, not just one example. Itadori and then Miwa later in the episode. But Itadori's reaction to Nobara while Mahito is running up to him is absolutely phenomenal. So, like,
you made some auditory reaction to this scene.
It's ridiculous. So, like, what they're doing here, other than just being goated, is typically what you have the 12 frames, you multiply it, and you get 24, right? But I don't know what the effect is, but on each frame, the frame doesn't inherently change, but the outlines do on the hair and the face, right?
Yeah, like
so typically
smudgy,
you go in between these frames, and by the nature of animation, they are exactly the same, right? Mm-hmm. Or it's the next frame and they are drastically different somewhat or subtly different. But the only thing that's changing here in between these two frames are the details of the line, right?
Yeah, he's not actually moving at all. It just gives the image of like kind of like
motion,
a shaking or humming.
It's amazing. And I wonder what the technique actually is. I wonder if it's just like going into like certain stroke sizes and like sizing it down by like one, or because it seems like it also moves, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, it's so interesting. But this entire sequence and what they're doing with Itadori's eyes here, and how his pupils are almost like squiggles coming out from the center of them, and you can see them jutting out, it's absolutely phenomenal. And it's like, it's not just his face. You can feel it through his body and his shoulders, that it's like exasperation. It's like out of breath, like trying to catch your breath, but you're weeping. It's phenomenal. I wonder if they use any reference material in terms of like actual people. Like obviously they have the manga, and I'm assuming that's just a still that you start with, but it's just so fluid. It's amazing, man. It's otherworldly. I'm so impressed. Okay. After the fight actually begins, we get the Todo entrance, right?
Yes.
What are your feelings? What are your thoughts when you hear the clap? Wait, before the clap. Sorry. Mahito Black Flash. Holy shit.
Yeah. I feel like for this episode, it was that example. I think it happened a few episodes ago where I had said that I felt like what was happening wasn't letting me appropriately emote to what they were currently showing me on the screen, because of how quickly we left something that we just had seen and that had a different emotional like feeling to it. Or a different so my body, I would say, for this initial, I think until Todo showed up, I don't know how heavily I was feeling in any direction, because I was so fixated on the sequence we just talked about of Itadori's face and those feelings about Nobara and what we saw of her face. And my mind was like really thinking about Nanami and thinking about how that was the side of the face that he was hurt on too. And we're having all of these like putting together of Nanami and Nobara. And so that's where my mind was going. My mind was on Nobara. My mind was on Itadori grieving right now and not even realizing like Mahito's still in the room. That once Todo showed up, it was like I was broken out of whatever trance I was in.
Yeah.
Of like hyper fixating on like everything. And I wish there was another word that was like similar to immersion, because I don't even know like if immersion is the right word of like
hypnotized.
What was happening to me right now. Hypnotized is similar, I would think, to what I'm trying to say that I felt.
Yeah.
And then as soon as like the clap, honestly, as soon as the clap, you're like broken out of it. Then I was like, okay, back to the real world. Not even the real world. Still watching the show.
Yeah.
But that's what it felt like. Like, okay, back to reality. Todo's here. We're moving forward. But my body was like not necessarily ready to be moving forward.
Obviously, this isn't the point that Itadori like wakes up out of it, but I kind of felt like Itadori until that moment.
Yeah.
Like just like despair. I've given up. One of the things that I don't think it's highlighted enough in season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen and about Todo as a character, it's very easy to focus on like the best moments of like, oh, the fake world that he's in with, Yuji. But my favorite moment of Todo in season 1, I think, is how he describes Jujutsu and what a sorcerer is like after he is able to achieve something akin to a Black Flash, and how how he compares it to ingredients and a chef, and how he's on a completely different level now. Todo as a character, his writing is phenomenal. He is able to deliver some of the best lines of the series. Like, okay, the bells of Gyan Monastery in India echo with the warning that all things are impermanent, The blossoms of the salsa trees teach us through their hues that what flourishes must fade. However, we are the exception. Absolutely gorgeous. I love it.
Some really great lines to Itadori as well, like later on in the episode.
Oh, we're going through them.
Oh, okay. Good.
A man as great as you shouldn't let yourself grow so small. We are Jujutsu sorcerers. Me, you, Kugasaki. What a great shot of the hammer. Mr. Nanami and all of our allies are Jujutsu sorcerers. Okay, do you want to take this part?
So as long as we continue to live, our dead comrades have not truly been defeated. There's like this glimmer. This is not a matter of sins and punishments. The moment we chose to live as Jujutsu sorcerers, our lives were no longer bound by such karma.
Oh, what a great line.
Attempting to find meaning in the deaths of the fallen can, at times, defile the memories of those we've lost. But even so, what have they entrusted you with?
Oh my God.
There's no need to find your answer to that now. But until you do, you cannot stop moving forward. That is the one punishment imposed on those who live as Jujutsu sorcerers.
Absolutely phenomenal. It's exactly what Itadori needed to hear. It's better than anything I could have imagined to hear, especially from in this moment.
It's so when I was watching this sequence of lines, my thought was I think just because of recency was on Nanami before his death and seeing his friend and feeling that kind of like the burden and pressures of those that have been left behind or that have died and wanting to live your life in a way that's not putting a curse on them. You know?
Yeah.
Or cursing them or, you know, that kind of pressure that you don't want to be putting that on them and their lives, that you are holding this burden. You don't want to take it out on their memory and their lives.
What is your interpretation of there's no need to tell my brother about that right now?
So, really great, question. So
that is the one punishment imposed. Is this being said out loud?
It's a great question.
Because, like, okay, so right before it, 10:21, you cannot stop moving forward. That was all spoken out loud. We can see the mouth flaps. But this is too far away. That is the one punishment imposed on those who live as Jujutsu sorcerers. But the context of that fits with what was said.
Yeah, so why would you not say
it
out loud?
And then this is obviously being italicized, that there's no need to tell my brother about that right now.
That. Like some specific thing. But to me, it can't be the dialogue that came right before because it flows so... Just it's contextually just so similar to the other things he was saying that it's like, how is that different enough to not be included right now?
My assumption is that it is another loss, like another defeat.
So yeah, and that's what I wanted to bring up is that when we first see what Todo has been doing before this point, we see that he has been where Gojo was sealed, which means that he has seen possibly some other travesties. He is, unfortunately, I'm going to go in the direction of who was fighting Geto, or the body of Geto. Yeah. Geto is not there when Todo is there.
Yeah.
He says that Geto is long gone with the Prism Realm. That's where I'm going to go with it.
That's fair.
So if we're going to go with there's something else, there's another loss. Really. And when we get Todo quoting, he brings up both of the names that Itadori has quoted as dead comrades. Mm-hmm. That to me is, why would he tell Itadori in this moment that someone other than those two has been added to the list?
That's a great guess.
Why in that moment would he? He just reinforces, he reiterates. He says Kugasaki and Nanami, and he reiterates those that Itadori has spoken. And he focuses on those because those are the ones that Itadori is currently grieving. and he's not going to add any more. That's where my mind is going.
That, I think, is a good guess. I'm not even going to touch on that guess because I think it's a good one. I couldn't imagine what else it could be unless it was a reiteration of something we as a viewer already know.
Mm-hmm.
Like Fushiguro's like health right now, you know?
Which I think is probably fine, so wouldn't go there.
Maki?
Right, so exactly where has Toto been in his walking and exploration of the battlefield? There are a few lives that it could be. I think what it might tell us as a viewer is that for sure someone else is definitely dead.
I agree with that. Jesus, that fight was amazing. When we first saw Miwa on the train, I assumed...
is it a plane or a train? It's a plane, right?
I think so. When we first saw it, my interpretation was that they were on their way, but obviously...
That was my first.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought she was alone. Which I kind of love that we think that she's alone, but really she's been given the space by everyone else to be like grieving.
Yeah.
Right now.
What do you think of Mekumaru's decision? I mean, he himself claims what it was, but like, I don't know. I obviously like seeing what has come and the surprises we were able to show these people, like Nobara being able to leave the mark that she did on Mahito.
Leave a mark. Like, that was she left that woman was a nobody, but she was able to leave a mark on me. Like,
that makes me wish all of these people were here. Because, like, believe it or not, everybody's exceeding their, expectations of themselves. They're surpassing their limits.
Right, and, Fushiguro ended up being incredibly helpful for his purposes, and then, obviously... him fighting his dad, that his dad could have ended up killing a lot more people or hurting a lot more people if Fushiguro wasn't there. So it is definite to bring up that, like, these players could have made some impact. Maybe more lives of people that were going to be transfigured, killed by a transfigured human. Like, we know that there were so many people here still alive that were being chased by transfigured humans that you could think that maybe some of them could have saved some lives.
Yeah.
Like, run in there just to save some lives, not necessarily fight. Like, Nobara's like, I could run around following this double and stop him from whatever bad things he's going to be doing instead of going to floor, I think it was like B5 or something. But then the double of Mahito decides to run straight for himself. So she's aware there that there's still havoc that could be wreaked outside of the location of Itadori and Mahito.
Like, I obviously don't think he would have won, but I would have loved to see a Kamo Choso interaction. That would be so fucking crazy in terms of their techniques, to see like a fight between them.
I think that I also feel a bit like I kind of wanted Utsuhime to be there just for the Gojo aspect of it.
True.
Utsuhime and Gojo's dynamic I really enjoy. So I think that her not being there is something that I'm like, darn it.
I also Miwa and Gojo, right? If Miwa can't have Mekamaru, who's it gotta be? I loved in talking about she was a nobody, but she left her damn mark behind. What a fucking visual of Kugisaki, man.
And this is from, like,
gorgeous.
Mahito's, like...
Perspective. And
if she looks like that in his perspective, like, that's a high compliment, I think.
Dude, everything's, like ramped up to 10, 11, 12, like... And it's usually what I'm praising is the animation, but... I feel the visual work through the manga in this episode in particular, because it's like you're coming up with these ideas that have nothing to do with animation. Having Mahito utilize his transfigured humans to make some sort of fucked up Mugen looking train, and like
it's kind of skeleton. Oh, so like the armrests are like arm bones?
Yeah.
So gross.
What a fantastic mind. Like, that's horrifying, and I love every second of it. And one of the best moments of this episode was kind of the pump fake here. That if you're satisfying staying on that level, then you and I won't stay best friends. Like, it leads into, like, the audience assuming that it's Todo once again talking to Itadori, but it's not. It's, like, him motivating himself to improve. And what a, like, move to have Itadori throw this rock at the speed of light, and you get the clap happening. Oh my god. This moment, the only thing I could think of other than just pure enjoyment was, like, All Might in, like, the peak of My Hero Academia when I first watched it.
When he kept saying his name over and over again, this moment was so good. See, I was not as much of a Todo lover from season 1 as you were. But I think that...
You were not enlightened yet?
No, but I would say that I was definitely really feeling Todo in this episode.
Are you planning to leave your brother alone once again? Aoi Todo. I loved, like, everything about it was so him as a character.
The fact that you have Itadori represented, but then the idol.
Yeah.
Like, right before it finishes.
Takada.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we talked about this in Bocchi. That's the interstellar black hole. It fits for Black Flash, right? God. This is, like, the perfect visualization for a Black Flash for Todo, is it not?
Mm-hmm. It's like, you want to see it every single time, and you want to, Tan. Is her name Tantaka or Tanaka?
Takada. Yeah, I believe so. Oh
well,
my god.
I want to see it every single time, like it's this, like, super magical girl transformation.
Yeah.
And so he just needs to do a bunch of Black Flashes all the time. I
would be down for that. I loved all of them. This, like, splash page of...
Oh, stop. Like, straight out of the manga. Straight out of it. And it's so incredibly good. The art is so good.
Doesn't Itadori's, like... Doesn't it give you Sukuna?
It does give Sukuna. It does. 100%. So right now, all 3 of them are drawing out 120% of their latent potential. So we're all on this kind of, like, even-ish playing field, not even necessarily in anything other than what we're bringing out of ourselves at the moment. I think it was, 10% for Itadori in terms of his soul and 40% for Mahito.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we're not completely on an even playing field, but we're all bringing everything we possibly can, every inch and ounce that we have left, and more so, pulling it out for whatever we're about to witness in whatever the next episode, which I think we'll be seeing coming this week.
I want a Jujutsu Kaisen tattoo.
Do you know what you'd get?
No. We got dinner with one of my really good friends, Noah, who is a big Jujutsu Kaisen fan. He has 2. Mm-hmm. He has the Itadori face, like the simple face. Cute,
yeah.
And then he has the Sukuna hand sign. And I don't think I'd ever, I don't know. I wouldn't get something, like, very obvious, like, or unless it was cheeky, but I feel like I need something.
Something that could be, like, not so obvious is, like, season 1 finale, like, Nobara with, like, the rose-ish kind of...
That'd be badass. But yeah. But then it's like, who am I getting a tattoo of? That would be, like, a womb tattoo, right? Because that's not, like, I guess it's kind of like a throwback to Nobara. Honestly, Nobara's nails would be kind of badass. Cool. Like, sometimes you'll see people with, like, tattoos of nails. Like,
yeah, I think that'd be cool.
If you got it in such a way that looked more aesthetic to Nobara.
Yeah, I really do like the little faces, like the cute, simple versions.
I really liked Geto's face in the Hidden Inventory arc in, I think it was episode 1, maybe 2. That was good.
So then I think that the final thing I'd want to talk about is the kind of final line that Mahito leaves us on with this Chef's also kiss. Amazing, like, I think it's straight, you print this out and it'd be a poster, you know, like, this amazing still of his face, so creepy, so scary. You and I curse each other. The last time You and I curse each other.
Absolutely phenomenal.
And they're, like, literally in the sky right now. These, like, worm-like creatures coming at them. Next episode's gonna be awesome.
We get, like I adore the language of, like, the you or me kind of thing, but that I've seen elsewhere in media. There's something so specific about the you and I will curse each other. I adore that language, and it fits, like, obviously it fits with Jujutsu Kaisen, but, like, I adore it.
I agree. Like, I think that's taking the you are me and, like, putting it on an even more exciting level that I've never seen before.
Do you remember in season 1 when we watched it, when I had you watch it on the channel, there was a point we got to later in season 1 that I was like, there is a picture that we are shown of a class with Toto in it, and there's a blonde kid there. And I thought that it was the guy, potentially the guy with the sword hand back then at the time, but now I'm thinking it was Nita.
Yes, I remember that. I remember us having that conversation.
And I was like, who the fuck is this person? You know?
And now we know.
I think so, at least.
Maybe. It's a possibility. It's a good possibility. So, yeah, someone is... So, let's sum it up. Next episode's going to be a pretty dang cool because all 3 of them, 120% latent potential coming out right now. You and I, this will be the last time we're going to curse each other. Super cool. Another thing to sum up, not a 0% chance that Nobara's dead, but another thing is someone else probably is dead.
Yep.
So that is where we are leaving this episode.
Is Wee Wee dead?
Oh no. Maybe.
Alright. You good?
Yeah.
What a great episode. I can't wait to rewatch it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.